I'm going to take advantage of the holes I have on the edge of my work table. You already know that inside they have an embedded nut. And in them, I insert these knobs with threaded rods to hold my homemade jigsaw fence. You're familiar with it. Come on, let's make one of those quirky woodworking jigs I sometimes make. So, I have this piece of strip, and I drilled a hole in it. This way I can secure it there with the tightening knob. But first, I have to place this little wooden block. This side must be perfectly at 90 degrees with this side of the wooden strip. And of course, I'll have to drill a hole in it. All right, with the help of a square and some quick glue, I set it in place. Once the glue is dry, I add a couple of screws to secure it. I drilled the hole, but then I realized something went wrong. How strange. Look here at the head of the wooden block. And notice that it changed here. I had to flip it. The thing is, I had this edge facing the other way, but it wasn't squared properly. Now this one is perfectly vertical at 90 degrees. And at 90 degrees with the edge of the long strip. I can now secure this to the work table. Now I have this other wooden block. It is a bit longer. That angle it has is because I found it that way. I want to place it here, firmly against the smaller block. And I'm going to attach a hinge here. There it is. Pressing it against the small block, it goes up and down straight. Well, here I have my jig with bearings. And this is the plywood strip I used to measure the distance from the edge to the cutting blade on the side jigsaw fence we saw at the beginning of the video. I'll leave the links to all these jigs in the description. So, let's say I want to cut a round rod the same length as this one. I place it here like this. And placing the plywood strip against the block with the hinge, I align the head of the rod with the edge of the strip. And I place a stop behind the round rod. But there are still some tricks and unexpected issues I'll need to address. The idea is that any rod I place here, I can cut it to this exact size. But the reality is that I will have to pre-cut the rods, so the ends will have a rough cut. So first, I moved the stop away to cut one of the rod's ends. I moved it just a little bit here. I think it would have been better to move it a bit more in case something goes wrong. I need to cut these rods, which are a bit thicker than the one we saw earlier. No problem, this woodworking jig can cut rods of different diameters. I place it there. I added this other clamp to ensure the jig doesn't move. I secure the rod with a clamp. And I make the first cutting test. The edge of the jig must be pressed against the strip, and the front firmly placed on top of the rod. And, unexpected surprise, something isn't right there. I repeat the cut on another rod. Yes, the horizontal cut is slightly off. At least, the vertical cut is perfect. We can see it better here. It's at the beginning of the cut, where it deviates inward. And then it straightens out and goes straight. So I added this wooden strip here, which has all edges straight and parallel. The idea is to straighten the cutting blade, so it enters the round rod straight. And there it is, a perfect cut. Come on, let's see how I am going to use this jigsaw cutting jig. With some strips of double-sided tape, I stuck the wooden strip here. Now I have set this stop block slightly back. And with this separator, I have the exact size to which I want to cut the wooden rods. This way, I make the first cut on all the rods. Here we see how the strip serves as a guide for the jigsaw blade at the beginning of the cut. I noticed that the clamp slightly bends the rod when holding it, so it's better to place it on this side of the knob to reduce that bending. This block must be free and press well against the small block. I firmly press the edge of the jigsaw jig against the block. I place the front of the base firmly on top of the rod, and I start cutting the wood rod. I cut these rods like this. Next is to cut them at the other end. So now I have to turn it. And I place the spacer. This way I can cut them all to the exact same size. And after addressing some issues and a lot of cutting, here I have 10 pieces that are exactly the same. And 5 shorter ones. They're for a project for the new channel. Thank you for watching the video, and if you like my videos, subscribe to my channel and click the bell to receive notifications every time I upload a new video.